Hello everyone, Vulcan here, and today I want to share some thoughts I have regarding rivalry in the shounen genre. This is an idea that came about from a discussion thread in a message board that I go to, which further spurred me to go and catch up to the Boku no Hero Academia anime. I've been up to date with the manga for a while, but the anime is something I didn't really want to get into, thinking I already read the manga and I never really cared much for the anime adaptation of Nanatsu no Taizai, which I already follow in manga form, so I didn't feel like it would be any better with Boku no Hero. But to my amazement, I was proven wrong, and I want to share one aspect of the show, and the series as a whole I guess, that I really like. As you can see from the title, it's the way the series handled its rivalry. Rival characters are a very common trope in anime, especially shonen. You see it in Dragon Ball with Goku and Vegeta, among others which I'll get to in a moment, Yu Yu Hakusho with Yusuke and Hiei, although some people think Kuwabara first, and you see it in Sasuke between Naruto and his titular character, and many others, including of course Boku no Hero between Izuku, also known as Deku, and Bakugo. However, I feel that a lot of shows just add rivals there for the added effect of there being someone for the main character to match up to throughout the show. Dragon Ball and Naruto are especially guilty for this, which is why I'm gonna use those two series as a basis of comparison. Now, what I mean by someone for the main character to measure up to is a character that is used almost exclusively as a measuring stick for the main character's progress, be it in terms of power scaling or social standing within the story's universe. In Dragon Ball, Goku didn't just have Vegeta as a rival. In fact, Goku's first rival was Krillin. Both of them met when they sought out Master Roshi so they could learn martial arts. Goku wasn't really trying to compete against Krillin, but Krillin tried his hardest to beat Goku, even resorting to cheap tricks to earn the old man's favor. The dynamic changed eventually from a slightly antagonistic one-to-one of friendship, which to be fair was quite good. Goku would help Krillin in his match against Bacterian, and Krillin would also offer his encouragement in the fight against Roshi. This was a good dynamic with a lot of potential because for a series centered around action and martial arts, the two could play off, help each other grow stronger as fighters, but through their battles, they would also grow closer as characters. Unfortunately, this never happened because as the series kept focusing almost exclusively on Goku's adventures, he inevitably widened the power gap between himself and Krillin to the point where the two couldn't be compared anymore. This became very apparent at the start of the Demon King Piccolo arc. At that point, Goku needed a new rival who could pose a challenge and serve as a measuring stick, necessitating the birth of Piccolo Jr., who we now know as Piccolo. This made perfect sense as the spawn of the demon who threatened the world and nearly killed Goku was the obvious choice for the next rival. Indeed, the final match between Goku and Piccolo was one of the best in the original series. With the added dynamic of Piccolo seeking revenge for his father, the two would make a very interesting duo, which turned out to be the case with the introduction of Raditz. However, and unfortunately, this rival would prove to be short-lived and consequently trashed with the introduction of Vegeta. His arrival meant Goku would need to become even stronger and widen the gap further between his former rivals. I believe this was the reason why Vegeta ultimately turned to the good side, or at least one of the biggest reasons. Because if Vegeta died, who else would match Goku? Certainly not Frieza, as he was too power hungry and not necessarily someone who just wanted a good fight like any other self-respecting Saiyan. The moral of the story here is that rivalry in Dragon Ball was handled in a very flimsy manner, which added little to the depth of the characters involved. Each rival that came about throughout the story was eventually replaced by someone else, and it's almost miraculous at this point that no one has taken up Vegeta's mantle, although Hit is looking like a real contender right now. God, I love this man. This is fine given that Dragon Ball is ultimately a plot-driven story rather than a character-driven one, but this handling of rivalries has also led to a lot of other characters eventually being made irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. In Sasuke, there was hardly any relevant dynamic between Naruto and Sasuke throughout the second part, as the two were almost never seen together until the very end. What's significant about this rivalry is the role reversal that took place. Where Sasuke was often seen as the ideal genin with many kunoichi having a crush on him, Naruto was shunned by practically everyone as a result of people not differentiating between him and Kyuubi. However, by the time the war came about, Naruto was regarded as a hero while Sasuke was seen as a criminal and a traitor. That's really how far the extent of their rivalry goes. In terms of power, the two were almost always exactly the same, but there was really nothing else to it. It wasn't until Sasuke declared he wanted to become the Hokage as well and bring his own brand of change to the shinobi world that I feel he could truly be considered Naruto's rival, but that was too little too late. So the question is, what makes a good rival character. I like to refer to 4 criteria when it comes to this. First is their character traits and how contrasting they are. Then there's the rival's relevance to the main character's story, what the rival's motivations are, and in what way are they related to the main character, and lastly, how the rival contributes to the main character's development and vice versa. Dragon Ball and Naruto do fulfill some of these criteria, albeit to a very simplistic degree. I don't feel I need to get into too much detail about opposing character traits between Goku and Vegeta or Naruto and Sasuke, as those are clear as day. Their motivations are a bit more interesting on the other hand. With Goku and Vegeta, it was as simple as getting stronger, with Vegeta always wanting to surpass Goku in order to satiate his pride as the Saiyan Prince. Naruto and Sasuke were slightly more complicated in this regard, because Sasuke's whole game was to get his revenge for his clan by killing Itachi. That later turned to wanting to destroy Konoha and everything Naruto wanted to fight for, and that was really more of a coincidence than anything else. Rather than rivals, this made them more like enemies, because rivals should have a similar, if not identical, goal, but wish to approach that goal in a different way. That's why I believe Sasuke couldn't really be called a rival until he declared he too wanted to become the Hokage, just like Naruto wanted to, but with a different ideal of what a Hokage should be. It was a little too late, however, because by then, the series was coming to an end, and as a result, their resolutions ended up being rushed. This is why the relationship between Deku and Bakugo was handled so well. They very obviously have contrasting character traits, with Deku being more soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and wanting to do good for others, while Bakugo is more brash, aggressive, and wants to prove to everyone that he's the best. At the start of Boku no Hero, this was already very obvious when Bakugo was angry with the fact that despite being quirkless, Deku still applied to UA. He felt his pride was being threatened given that he wanted to be the only one from his school to be allowed to study at the most prestigious hero school in the country. Bakugo also plays a big part in Deku's story. While Deku has always admired All Might more than anyone in his life, he also admired Bakugo because of his talent and his latent potential, 2 things Deku felt he didn't have but wished for very much. This is why I think Deku always followed Bakugo around despite the latter bullying him even violently. Even after Deku inherited One for All, Bakugo was someone Deku still looked up to and hoped that both would grow together as fighters and as heroes, hoping to measure up to him along with his idol. What's most significant about their rivalry, however, is their motivations. As I said, Deku always admired All Might more than anyone in his life, especially his heroism and the fact that he was a figure everyone looked up to in order to feel safe. That is what Deku wanted to become and why being quirkless devastated him as a toddler, and also why he was so happy that he cried uncontrollably when All Might himself said he could become a hero despite not having a quirk. Incidentally, Bakugo also greatly admired All Might and wanted to become like him, but for vastly different reasons. Bakugo, above all, admired the prestige All Might boasted as the undefeated #1 hero that no villain could defeat. Bakugo wants to be the very best and the one to experience victory at all times. These motivations are reflected by their character traits. Deku is kind-hearted, soft-spoken, and wants to help others sometimes without even thinking about it, which is the reason why he admires All Might's heroism. By contrast, the brash, reckless, and impulsive Bakugo admires All Might's power and status as the indomitable hero who stands above everyone else. Perhaps it is even because of these qualities they admire in All Might that they are the way they are. But this is what makes their traits so fascinating, even if we see them in virtually every shonen series out there. Their traits and motivations are closely related to one another, and everything goes back to a single source, that of course being All Might. Their rivalry therefore isn't one that is there simply for its own sake, like with Dragon Ball and Naruto. Their rivalry is very much an ideological one revolving around what a hero is meant to be, and the series did a great job in establishing that early. Because of their conflicting ideals, I also feel that the two will contribute a lot to each other's development over time. Deku will eventually come to realize that simply having the spirit of a hero isn't enough, and one needs to have the power to match whatever threat comes his way. This is of course something that was shown to him in the very first episode of the anime when All Might revealed to Deku his injury. Even now, it is something that Deku needs to fully come to terms with given how much risk he puts himself through facing opponents way above his league. Bakugo too will have to realize that being a hero isn't all about strength and status. This rivalry serves a purpose for both characters, and that's why I believe it's handled so well. So hopefully you enjoyed this little rant of mine about one of the things I really enjoy about the show. Let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comment section below, and also who you think is correct regarding what the ideal hero is between Deku and Bakugo. Like this video if you did, of course, subscribe to my channel for more, and hopefully I will see you again soon.